What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Senator of Chaos and Controversy, and today's topic of discussion is an all too familiar one that I'm sure both men and women can relate to. And it's in regards to relationships. Why there are some successful relationships and why there are mostly failed relationships. Um, and It's probably going to have many layers that I'm going to have to peel back and touch upon on certain areas that I, through personal experience, can speak on, and maybe through other examples that have been discussed on other platforms. But relationships. Okay, I guess I can go to a all too familiar theme, which will touch upon the failures of relationships. Um, Sometimes the failures of relationships have to deal with lack of communication, um, people being toxic, having their own baggage, people not bringing their fair share to the table, scales not being evenly balanced, um, issues with if a child is involved, um, lack of trust, um, addictions, and many other factors that play into why a lot of relationships fail, and most of which I can relate to. I don't shy away from taking into account the part that I play and why many of the relationships that I've been in haven't been so successful. And that's just me being honest about it. Um, but where accountability lies, quite often, you get half truths. You know, you get like one party, 9 times out of 10 it's the female that's always throwing the males up under the bus, diminishing their worth, saying that they are no good, this, that, and the other. Talk about all highlighting all the bads, but never touch upon the good parts, you know, and vice versa, males with the females, always point out where the woman done went wrong, this, that, and everything else, and what she didn't do or what she did do, and how she probably played the guy, and or just only in it for the money, or whatever the case may be, and it's an all too familiar thing, you know, and when you break down the dynamics of the the structure and how things are nowadays, there's no stability. It seems like people are more selfish and more in tune with what they can get out of something rather than, being involved in a commitment and getting to know the person, you know. Um, and most people feed off of other people's flaws. You know, it's kind of like a trump card. Some people got to be at a certain level than the other person. Um, and it's something that, as much as I have a distaste for things being pointed out to me, because I don't always want to accept the truth, because I try to look at things in a different light. My ex said, you know what? Maybe you're the common denominator of why you have failed relationships, or maybe it's your poor choice in women. Adding her to the roster of poor choices, and something that was said to me today was that I have a particular nature that I try to, because of the things that I've experienced in life, that I try to apply that in seeing a person in a similar position as I found myself in, to try to be a savior, or help them better themselves. And as I stated before, if you don't have your stuff together, then you are of no good use to somebody else, or you're not the good example for somebody else. As you are a hindrance to yourself, and you are your own worst enemy, you become an enemy to that other person who you decided to get involved with. That's the position that I played, and I can admit to that. But there's a lot of things that, as I've briefly summarized, today, when I look at my parents, I look at them with admiration, but I also look at them with envy. And I look at them because you don't have that solidarity. You don't have that unity. You don't have that team, as my parents have. They help build each other up. In today's, equation, as I would probably would define it, you got people that come together just to tear each other down. There's no upliftment. There's no compliments. There's no rooting for them to succeed. There's always looking and highlighting their failures. People painting a bad picture of the other person. If that person's going through something, like whether it's mentally, or if they're going through something on a physical aspect, or if they're just already broken down, people utilize that moment to just kick that person while they're down. And it's sad and unfortunate, especially when people get to know you. They get to know things about you, and then when they decide to cash in their chips and do away with you like you ain't shit, then that's when they start utilizing all the information about you against you as ammunition. And that works mostly on the female's behalf, especially if you have a child with them. Oh my God, don't. Boy, and you know how the system is created, and this is why I talk about the sad purpose of a system that is used with bad intentions. The system is now is weaponized for the benefit of women against fathers of children that come out of that relationship. Everything is stacked in favor of and against the fathers. And I've had this discussion, and like a lot of women get offended because they don't care to see where the male's coming from, because if you're the one reaping the benefits of being a mother who has custody of the children, you get food stamps, you get housing, you get tax breaks, you get child support. You get that foundation to stand on, whereas the fathers don't get those. You see what I'm saying? They don't get those benefits. Even though you equally came together to create a life, unequally, when you separate, it's always in the favor of the mother. And the fathers are expendable. They're throwaways of society. And some women know that, and they use it to their benefit. They'll go lay up and fucking get, like, I don't know, as many children as they can from miscellaneous men, and don't give a damn about the kids, but that's a paycheck to them. They're financially secure. Flawed system. And yes, in some cases, and I'm not saying that men shouldn't partake in their child's life, but then again, that's where the communication has to come into play. That's where people as adults have to sit down at the table and say, hey, okay, we understand the altitude of and the climate of society, and for what it's worth in the condition that it's in today. We know that having the courts involved in the structure of a broken family doesn't benefit, well, it benefits one party, but it devastates the other. It handicaps the other parent, so to speak. The other parent that don't get the benefits and the exemptions that the other one is awarded. That's what I'm talking about. The scales aren't evenly balanced. And then when you get the condescending attitude that comes into play, especially if it comes from the mother and she has a distaste for the father, oh, the attitude is going to be justified as far as she's concerned. And then you have to play by her rules. And then sometimes that adds frustration to the father, and the father's like, you know what, fuck this bullshit. Fuck it. Because now he no longer sees the child as his child, but property. You know? It's like you dehumanize the child. And now it's a fight against ownership. You know? And it shouldn't be like that. But the way the system is set up, and the reason why you have so many broken families, and there's a decrease in the tradition of family, is because of how the system is. And in a lot of cases, it's unfair. And a lot of females know that it's unfair, and they're like, oh, well, who gives a fuck? You're bad. Should have put your dick in me. But here's the flip side of that coin that the courts don't take into consideration. Say the mother starts messing up. The mother starts to be an danger to the child, not being responsible, using the child support for other than it going towards the child, getting fucked up, getting high, losing the housing, putting the child in certain predicaments that the child shouldn't be in. Meanwhile, the father's doing what he's supposed to under whatever stresses and circumstances and as best as he can do. But the mother's out there doing, her. Oh, I'm going to do me. I'm going to do me. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm doing me. And the father's just fucking slaving away. Working probably like 1 or 2 or 3 jobs and shit just to make sure his lifestyle is whatever, and supporting the child and the mother. I mean, that and it's not just me saying it. You go look up on YouTube under child support, and you see the various stories. Now, are there fathers that are fucking deadbeats and don't do shit for their kids? Absolutely. There are deadbeat dads that don't do a motherfucking thing for their kids. Don't pay child support. Don't do shit at all. Period. Fall under the radar. But it seems like those motherfuckers tend to get a pass. No one could, but the person that's responsible, that's supposed to be doing what they're supposed to do, and that's how it was for me in the beginning with my daughter and stuff like that. And the crazy thing is, it's like I was living with my daughter's. No, me and my daughter's mother was living together. I was working a full-time job, paid good money. I was the assistant manager in the deli department at Stop and Shop. And I was making, I don't know, maybe like $17 at the time. This is 20 years ago. And I don't want to use race as a factor, but when it comes to certain people who get involved with, whatever, you start to see who has the upper hand and who doesn't. My daughter's mother is Italian. Her father had the nerve to say, I think you should get child support from him. We're living together. I'm paying the bills. I'm supporting my daughter, buying her stuff, going to the Nike outlet store, buying her shoes, getting the baby mama's nails done, doing this, that, and everything else. But you know who paid the price? I did. I'm the one who got cheated on. I'm the one who got called the N-word, this, that, and everything else. I'm the one who had my mother disrespected because my mom was sick. And when I went to go get my daughter diapers and I think Tylenol, children's Tylenol or something like that, my mom had my daughter wrapped up, in the blanket to secure her on the couch so she wouldn't roll over and stuff. And at that time, my daughter's mother ended up coming to my parents' house before I had a chance to get back from the store. And she started talking all sorts of disrespectful shit about my mom. I ain't never disrespected her mom. Never said, even though her mom said whatever she had to say about me and against me or whatever, I never disrespected that woman. But my mom got disrespected. So yeah, poor choice of women. My son's mother got up with my daughter's mother. Oh, you don't have to work. Tony be busting his ass. He'll be working 2 or 3 jobs. You know what? You don't even have to work. And it's messed up because my son's mother, we met on the job. But due to poor choices, poor decision making, bad habits, that's where my addictions and shit started getting involved with her. Not putting the blame on her because I made a decision. So I'll say that. Not putting the blame on her. But the journey where it began, for me to start entertaining certain demons and shit, that's where it began. And what's funny, when I was talking to my sister, she said, oh yeah, your son's mother never disclosed anything that she did. She just told everything about what you were doing. Until everything came out when she OD'd and passed away and died. Information about my son, nothing was told to me about my son, where he was, what was going on. And when it was all said and done, he was adopted by another family because she didn't tell anybody about the information with me. She could have got in contact with my sister. She could have got in contact with my parents. Whereas they could have contacted me to see what was going on with me. But being that it was an issue of control, an issue of do as I say, not as I do. Or I could do stuff. And my son was subjected to a lot of stuff that his mother was doing. That it all came out afterwards. But when the father is put in a position to be helpless because you're draining him financially, and then when it's like, oh, well, the mother done messed up, she done did this, do you want custody of your kid? Hell yeah, I want custody of my kid. Well, do you have a stable living condition? Do you have a car? Do you have a job? Well, the reality is 9 times out of 10, fathers don't financially have stability because child support fucks that off for them. So when the mother do fuck up and the father's award custody, the child is coming into what the father has to work with. Unless that father is in a healthy relationship with another woman where they're both bringing something to the table, they can't communicate. There's no arguing, and if there is arguing, it's on a civil level. And they work together and not against each other. There's compromise. So yes, then that child could come because the couple is supporting each other. They complement each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's where when I say that I envy my parents, it's because I look at them and they're of tradition. And my father, he busted his ass all his life. Anybody on his side of the family had to come to him. Hey, so-and-so, can you do this, do that, whatever. And my dad was always there for his family. For us kids, within reason, always there for us. When I was unemployed, he had side jobs when He was in between jobs and stuff like that. He took me up under his wing, and I would go with him to go paint houses and stuff like that, work on houses, and I would get paid. Of course, he took the bigger chunk because he had greater finance, but he was trying to instill work ethic in me and stuff like that. Ever since I was a child, going with him to the houses that he owned, that he rented rooms out to. He was a landlord, while working a full-time job at Pratt & Whitney as a tool and die maker. My mom worked for the IRS and had a realtor's license. But, they were educated people. My mom had her bachelor's degree. My dad had an associate's degree. But then he went back to school while I was finishing high school. And we both ended up going to the same college, conveniently. But he graduated the year before I ended up going. And I only did a year because I just got tired of school. I was just going to school, going to school, going to school, going to school, going to school. And it got tired because I was more of a workhorse. I was like, damn, I want to work. I was all about that money. Money was my addiction at a particular time. And they didn't ask for any handouts. Nah. And they were very set in the traditional family values. Now, was my upbringing all of that? No. I was sheltered, had a strict upbringing. My parents were nothing to play around with. I'll tell you that. They were some strict black people. Black parents. Mm-hmm. Who adopted 2 children, me and my sister. But I don't know. And that would be the example of a successful relationship or marriage. I know that there is talk about the decline in marriages in America because of courts involvement. A lot of times women get in a marriage, especially to some men, only to see that, oh, he got a good job or he's worth this amount. Spend a little time with them. Don't help build whatever the career is that man has, but want to reap the benefits of it just because you was attached to his hip. So that gave you a sense of entitlement to whatever earnings that man has made just because you took on the title as his wife. Now you feel like, okay, I served my time. I want a divorce. Why did you get involved with the person? If that was your end game, why get involved? Because I'm sure that man invested not only his time, his emotion, and his heart into you. You were just sitting there biding your time just so you can reap the rewards at the end. That's why a lot of men nowadays like the hell with marriage, because there's too much for them to lose in the end. Just for the women to sit up and collect. And then what's even funny, when a person like me have knowledge of this, and other people as well as I do, oh, women get mad. They get upset like, how dare you pay attention? How dare you peep what it is that we're trying to do? Oh, well. It's like the vagina has more worth than the dick does. But they both play a part equally. And yeah, there are a lot of women that just don't give a damn. They don't. Now, I touched upon this briefly in my video prior to this. I speak of knowing your worth. And one of the things that I could say that I try to teach my daughter's mother for her own benefit until she just changed and whatever. Um, I tried to tell her because when I met her, she was going to college. She had a good job, and all of that just went out the door. And I understood she was younger than I was at the time. I said, "Hey, you can, have your time, go out." She didn't want to go out, but she found time to go outside the relationship and do her, you know. And I think that's where my attitude towards women and my distaste for women started to develop with her. And there was other relationships after and stuff like that where it just I started to develop a negative attitude towards women. Now I gotta get myself out of that mindset to know that not every woman is my past relationships. I need to shed myself of that because when you drag shit from the past into the present, it doesn't do you any justice and it doesn't do you good. As a matter of fact, it creates problems and it hinders a potential healthy relationship if it has that ingredient to be as such. Um, but dependency. I was trying to tell her, don't be dependent of a man. Be dependent of yourself. Because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know if me being a father to our daughter, what if something happens where I get killed or something like that? Now you and our daughter don't have nowhere to go. Be self-sufficient. A lot of these women, they don't want to be self-sufficient. They don't want to work. They don't want to do shit. But see where the next come up is from. If it's not by throwing what their worth is down there into another man's lap just to get a roof over their head or get this and reap the rewards of that, and they ain't bringing nothing to the table, and that's all that's their worth is about, then they ain't worth being in a relationship to begin with. Same with the female getting involved with the guy. Oh, he could have a 10, 12-inch tree trunk of a damn dick and shit like that. But if you're supporting him and he's not bringing anything to the table, he's just laying up on the couch playing video games, ain't making time for you, always hanging out with his boys and shit, asking you for money, asking you for the keys to the car, going out cheating on you and shit, and you got a successful career, but he's good in bed, so you give him pass after pass after pass after pass. Meanwhile, you have a dude that's sitting there that has something to bring to the table, acknowledges you, values your time, but you choose to ignore that person because you feel like being that you're on a certain level than the dude that you decide to entertain and bring into your home, you got some control. So when you're done dealing with all his shenanigans and shit, you get to kick him out and go on with the next worthless dickhead and shit that you want to entertain. And then as time progresses, there's no foundation for a family. You find yourself by yourself. You done found yourself old, wrinkled, decrepit and shit like that. So who wants you at the age that you're at then? Unless you want them women that takes care of herself and could be in her late 40s, early 50s and still look like she's in her late 20s, which is very rare. Same goes for the men. Wasting time on these females and stuff. That ain't about nothing. Except for what they can get out of you. See, I'm trying to balance the scales. I'm not just getting on women. I'm showing what is it? The ulterior motives of men as well. Because a lot of people come into relationships with ulterior motives. Not to do you any good. Other than to bring you down or break you down or tear you apart. And bring you down to a level that they are at, if you allow them to. But I spoke on men that ain't got shit going for themselves, don't have nothing to bring to the table, and they're at the mercy of women who could dispose of them at any time, and it is what it is. Same with females. If you ain't got nothing that you bring to the table, and you're coming into a relationship where he's has some sense of stability, he has his own roof over his head, and say you don't decide, oh, you gonna still bring in your outside habits into his home, and he gets sick and tired of that shit, and then you find yourself jumping from couch to couch, dick to dick, and shit like that, just to have a roof over your head. That to minimize your worth. What? How is that living? It's not. And then I tell people when it comes to like certain relationships, if you're serious about a relationship and you feel like you're gonna work together and you guys know each other's pros and cons, and but that's the person that you want to be with, and you want to see that other person better themselves, advance from the point from where you met them, and you work together to build each other up, not harping on one and the other harping on the other, and y'all going at each other and shit, and just throwing each other's flaws in each other's face and shit like that, or running to other people to get validation as to why your man ain't shit, or dudes running to their whatever family and stuff, putting the female that they got involved with down and shit, because that just adds more fuel to the fire. It does, to a point where you just don't want to have nothing to do with each other, because you cause so much friction and shit that you can't put out the fire anymore. And I tell people this also: if you are serious about the person that you're with or that you're going to be with, and say you decide that you want to live together, make sure you both are on that same contract. Not just one person on the contract and the other one, No, make sure you have equal investment in the relationship, and equal things that you bring to the table. You know, so that way you don't have to feel that one is of more value than the other. That you are on an equal standing. And I guess when I get myself to where I want to be, where I'm satisfied, I'm going to have to evaluate and have better choices in who I invite into my life. And yeah, I'm gonna be heavily guarded, because I don't just like allow myself to be a part of someone else just for them to remove themselves out of my life and leave me fucked. And it's about making better choices. And I'm not going to be no longer a common denominator. I'm going to be a productive factor. But again, like I said, it all starts with the individual, because as much as we feel complacent and comfortable with pointing the finger and stuff, sometimes you need to hold the mirror up and look at yourself. Because it's easy to do this all the time. Doing this don't solve shit. Because while you're doing this and people are taking inventory of all the shit that you pointed out about them, and then they start correcting their shit, whatever, and then someone else comes along and start reaping the benefits of their correctness, and you're just sitting there all bitter and fucked up and whatever, and you still spewing that venom, but that venom can no longer poison that other individual, because now they're immune to it. Because now it's just like, okay, yeah, you're still talking about the person that I was, because the person that I am now is it holds no relevance to you talking about how I was in the past, because how I am now in the present makes all the difference. Anyway, Until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe. And yes, hopefully this was informative. Hopefully this was knowledgeable. I know it wasn't structured. I normally don't come with a structured dialogue, but hopefully I dropped some gems. Okay? Anyway, till next time, peace.